Oh, yes, everybody. This is the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. I am Flex Matt. He is Brandon Adam, and we are doing some last minute NFL draft takes for you, Brandon. I know this is quite quick, Shane. Shane's gallivanting across the United States here. He's a Canadian. I don't know where amongst the world he is, but we are unable to grab the availability to go live on our DFS Army feed cast. So we're going to upload this or just essentially download this and then re-upload it. So we're able to get that done. But you're going nuts. We got the NFL draft tomorrow. I forget who said it, if it was you or Mike, but it's Christmas tomorrow, and
Yeah.
it's literally Christmas Eve right now for all of us degenerates. And you were like, we got a pod. I got some takes, we got some things, and I'm excited to get into it. So how are you, brother?
Good, man. I'm so excited. Yeah, we had to get some things out there on tape. We've been talking about some of these takes for sure the last, I don't know, couple months on some of them. So some things are gaining speed, some traction, and I don't know if it's clickbait, but some things are happening possibly, and it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a really wild first round this year.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to start with. I think, or maybe just kind of going from the top of the draft down. I still want to hold out hope, just a little bit of hope that, why do you bring Cliff Kingsbury in to the
Mhm.
Washington? There's too much juice with him and Caleb to think that there is not going to be a push from Washington to try to get up to one. Do you think at all that is possible? I mean, at this point, it seems like it's impossible.
Mhm.
But what would it take Washington to actually achieve that? I mean, it has to be what you
Trey
may
Lance.
call Trey Lance.
Like what three first to get there, man? Like yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
think it's
three
that. I
first
think it's that
almost
locked.
seems like
I
three
think it's
first
locked
seems not
in.
good enough. That seems like
Yeah,
it's not going to happen for three
it's
firsts.
not gonna happen. Well, I don't
So
think it's gonna happen. So I think it's actually gonna be. I think one of the takes that you were talking about. You've been one of your guys that's been steaming up is JJ McCarthy, and there's been some rumors and some shifting of betting odds for him and Jaden Daniels and the last few weeks. So I'm excited to see who goes number two. You were Jaden Daniels seemed to not like the way that they were being handled throughout the whole process. I don't know if that is going to be a problem for Washington, but McCarthy number two is not out of the cards. I think.
well, I also think that there's two ways to take this. Okay, or three ways actually. One is Washington just flat out likes JJ McCarthy, so
Mhm.
they could absolutely do that. So if that happens, then the rumors that are out there that are talking about how Jaden Daniels did not have a good visit with the Washington Commanders, which,
Mhm.
I mean, kind of makes sense. I mean, the Washington Commanders aren't known to be a franchise that, you absolutely want to play for, and you look at Terry McLaurin. Is he going to stay long term? Maybe he is. I mean, it's
But really, who cares? The guy's never been a wide receiver one in his whole career. So it's like, I think we give way too much respect to Terry McLaurin, and I mean, D Hop was a number one wide receiver with trash QBs. He was able to do it. I think Terry McLaurin gets let off the hook quite a bit. But yeah, I think if JJ McCarthy goes two, I think it's going to unfold a big domino effect down the board. Meaning, I think number three is going to be Drake May no matter what. I think that's going to be Drake May, number three. And then with Jaden Daniels falling to four, I could see the Raiders trying to go as high as they can to get to four to get Jaden McDaniels and reunite Jaden Daniels with um, Antonio Pierce, his old coach from ASU. So I think that is a possibility if JJ McCarthy goes number two.
Yeah, the other kind of not dominoes, but the things I was thinking about for JJ number 2 is just that, the other idea is that they're okay to trade back. And, it seems like the way the trade scales kind of look is that having a number 11 and 23 for the Vikings is maybe like, really good. 2 first
Mhm.
round picks, especially in this draft class, to come up
Yeah.
to 2. But the problem is, I don't think that would get it done either. And it doesn't matter who you're trading up for, because at that point you're just trading up for whoever you want of the guys versus having to
Mhm.
sit back and worry. And I think what it is with JJ McCarthy is his leadership.
Mhm.
I think that is something that, when you have an NFL coach that's coached him, that talks the kid up to the moon, and I like JJ McCarthy a lot. I think that he has been held back. Like, he can be unleashed. Now, is it going to happen at Washington? Probably not, right?
I'm
Maybe.
worried about it. Yeah, that's not where I want him. I think the best place for him is to marinate for a year or two. So Atlanta would be a great spot for him, to be honest, if it was able to fall that way for him. Like, I would actually be more in on McCarthy if that was the case, instead of having to be put out there right off the bat like at Washington.
I think that also, the Patriots, I think they're going JJ McCarthy. I don't think
Okay.
that they're going Drake May. I think pure leadership and arm talent, and which I know Drake May has, but Drake May's kind of a bozo. You and I you and I are not exactly high on Drake May. I do like Drake May's intangibles, and I know that on that atypical size, which he is a big QB, those are QBs you want to take a swing at. If
Sure.
you're in a spot like the Patriots are at 3, where it's like, okay, well, you're going to get the third best quarterback, or ideally, it's going to
Yeah.
be between the 2 guys that the other teams don't want. And
Sure.
so I just feel like, great, if JJ McCarthy is at 3, I feel like they're going to go JJ McCarthy at 3
Sure.
and not Drake May. But
Mhm.
if JJ's gone, then again, now you're in a position where Jaden Daniels could fall to New England, and we hate that, even though we
Hate
really
it.
love him for fantasy because of his running output,
Mhm.
or his rush output. To see him at, but then again, Ramondre Stevenson seemed to break through there and become a serviceable runner behind that system. So maybe it does work. I mean, when Lamar went to the Ravens, it wasn't necessarily looked at as an offense that was going to all of a sudden be electric. It was
Correct.
like, it
Correct.
was not a perfect scheme for him as a run first scheme, but he ended up pulling through that with his
Yeah.
ability. So, that's the real issue, is if somebody wants Jaden or JJ McCarthy, I do feel like they have to get up to 3 or up to 2 to get him. Do you feel that
To
way?
lock
Or
him in, 100%. I feel that way. Like I've definitely. I mean, my number. I made it known. My number 3 is Michael Penix, out of Washington. My QB3. I think he's going to end up being the best value of any of these quarterbacks in the real NFL draft. But McCarthy, man, I'm like, he is Jordan Love kind of esque type deal, raw, talented, got decent arm strength. He's an athlete. He can move. He's a better athlete than honestly Jordan Love is running the football. But
and he's a
I
better
don't know.
athlete than people even give him
Yeah,
credit for.
I for sure. I think he is. I think he's actually Kirk Cousins plus.
Yeah, I like that.
With a little bit more run aspect to him. I don't think he's a Josh Allen at all. I don't think he's that. I don't think Drake May's that either. I think none of these guys really comp out to Josh Allen. But some people like to say that, but I just don't. But yeah,
Well, you
I have
didn't see
Penix.
Drake May light up the combine like Josh
No
Allen, or however the pre-draft process with Josh Allen saw him throwing absolute bombs,
bombs. Yeah,
right?
just crazy.
And so
Yeah.
it was so when I'm looking at this at 1, 2, 3, I'm thinking easy enough for Cardinals to go Marvin Harrison, and there's no way
Please
they're
God.
trading out of that
Please
pick.
God. Please God.
I know everybody's talking about, you shared that video about the Cardinals front office. They get giggy on trades.
Yeah.
And their front office is willing to actually kind of take a little bit of a risk because we've seen it last year. They dominated the trade that they had with the Texans. They went back, but then they kind of lost a little bit of value coming up to grab Paris Johnson. And it's it it was, they took a risk. They won with that risk. And then they had to pay a little more than what the value was for that move up. So you see that maybe because of that, they might trade out of 4. But
Mhm.
I just can't see them missing out. Because here's the thing, if they go further than 6, they might lose Neighbors and Marvin Harrison. And at that point,
I think they would be okay with Rome. I actually think Rome would be a very good X for Kyler.
Yeah, but
That's a
okay, but
great fit.
who's trading with 4? So if we're assuming Washington doesn't trade out, so let's assume that.
Giants.
Okay, well, the Giants could go from 4 to 6. I understand that. They could. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to trade up 2 spots to grab a QB. I just don't, because I think me and you both know that they probably are okay taking Penix if they want to sit back.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I think
right.
That's yeah, I think the value
But let's
is there.
say the Vikings, right? So it is the Vikings. If the
Mhm.
Vikings can't nail the trade at 2 for JJ McCarthy, and for some reason it gets to 4 and JJ's still there, or even Jaden Daniels ends up being
Right?
there.
What? Nobody's talked about that possibility.
Yeah. So
Like,
if Jaden
what if
Daniels
Jaden
is there
Daniels?
at 4
Yeah.
and the Vikings are going to trade up. So you're telling me that the Cardinals are going to go all the way to 11 and
Maybe.
now
Yeah.
and then what? Try to work back up,
What I would do is I would trade back into to Chicago to see if because they only have 5 total picks. So this year. So if they want to gain some picks, gain some more picks, and just drop from 9 to 11, I would do that in a heartbeat if I was them. Because honestly, Rome is a luxury pick for them. I want that for Caleb. I think Caleb. One of my hot bold takes is that this time next year, when we're doing startup drafts, Caleb will be the QB5 on the board. And if Rome is a part of that equation, I am even further entrenched with that. But I think Chicago could trade back a little bit, gain a little bit of value, and still go get yourself maybe a Brock Bowers at 11 instead of a Rome at 9, and get yourself Brock and a little bit of juice as well.
Yeah, I think if that's the case, the Cardinals end up with Rome, then I think the Jets would then go Brock Bowers at 10.
I would
So
think
again, you
so.
would
That's
miss it
true.
altogether for the Bears, and you would just assume, okay, we're not going offense with these picks. We're going defense.
They could be offense if they're lucky, but they would probably plan on like taking like a Byron Murphy, maybe go pass rush. They need, Eberflus is a defensive coach, and I'm sure he wants more pass rush to pair with Montez Sweat. Murphy would be a great fit there. Jared Verse possibly would be a great fit at 11 as well. I think that could be a possibility for Chicago if they really want to build that way. But man,
they'd be
if
forced
it
to
was
if
possible,
they took the trade.
What's that?
If they took the trade, they'd be forced to play that way. That's why I don't think they're going to.
Maybe.
I think they're going to wait. I mean, so with our nuts on the table, I'm saying they're just going to stay. Cardinals are going to stay. They're going to get Marvin Harrison. The reason why you can't do that and you can't make the move out of there and you can't is because Marvin Harrison comes with the prestige. Marvin Harrison comes with a type of leadership about him that you would think that Kyler would grow up, and say, okay, let's go to work like on a high end.
To be honest, if Kyler doesn't produce this year with a Marvin Harrison, they're going to trade him next year. They're moving on from him. They're going to end up rebuilding and setting the clock again. Kyler needs to understand that he has to produce this year if he gets a Marvin Harrison Jr., a Malik Neighbors, or a Rome Odunze. If he does not, the Cards will move away from him in 2024, 2025,
So
2026.
then we get to the obvious trade candidate in being the Chargers. Now,
Yep.
if we're going to put our nuts on the table and we're saying Marvin Harrison's going to be off the board, we're going to say, do we put our nuts on the table for JJ McCarthy at 2, or is JJ McCarthy still on the board here?
I think Jaden Daniels is the fit for the Washington Commanders. I think that's the fit. It's just too good for what Cliff wants in a quarterback. So I think he's going to be 2. I think McCarthy will be on the board at 5. And this is we've been saying it in our chat for months, man. Months. Does Jim Harbaugh reconfigure this whole thing and move Justin Herbert and go get JJ McCarthy and trade away a Justin Herbert and go get themselves a ton of get themselves a couple firsts and then gets that contract off the books. Yes, a big cap hit this year, but just like the Broncos, take the cap hit and build for the future, because they know for a fact that even if they got a Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Chargers somehow, or a Malik Neighbors to the Chargers, I don't think that offense is even capable of competing with the Chiefs, or even with a Michael Penix led Raiders team, which is quite possible at 13. So I feel like this, we're going to really find out what Jim's all about here at 5, because I think JJ McCarthy will be on the board for him.
Okay, so, and that's, I guess we're building a little mock draft as we're going here. It's kind of a fun exercise. I enjoy that. So if they trade Justin Herbert, it's clear it's the Vikings, but
Yes,
maybe
Vikings.
it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that, yes, you probably don't have enough capital anywhere else. This draft's a stellar draft to grab capital in. Harbaugh has the most reach to the college scheme this year,
Absolutely.
obviously,
Just like Pete Carroll did, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's not going to be 11 and 23 for Justin Herbert if that happens. You got to add more. I mean,
Something
Herbert
else too in next year in 2025 for sure.
Yeah, Herbert's definitely worth more. If that happens, Justin Herbert may be the number 1 overall
QB4.
quarterback.
QB3.
No,
Yep.
come on.
Yep. QB3. I would put him right there. QB3
with Justin
legitimate.
Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson.
Oh, I know.
And that arm.
I know. Okay. I know.
I mean,
okay.
Josh Allen is just falling down the board. Josh Allen has nobody.
That's one of my bold calls of the projection of this year is that Josh Allen is going to fall out of the top 5 for the first time since 2019. So I don't think he's going to be a top 5 scoring quarterback this coming up season. He's got way too much to teach to new wide receivers. I think they're going to be leaning on the run game a little bit more. I think they're going to have to play different style now, and they have to rebuild. I think this is like a new era within the era of Josh Allen. And I think they have to rebuild for a big time run and push maybe in 2025, 2026.
Well, when we get to the Bills pick, we could really dive into that. But so we're going to say Harbaugh moves the pick, right? So let's say he moves the pick, whether or not, okay, I don't think Justin Herbert's getting traded. I think
I don't think so either. I think it's going to happen. Yeah,
I think he's going to move the pick no matter what. I think this is the spot that if JJ McCarthy is still there, they move up. This for that. That's an easy one. Even if it's not JJ McCarthy, whoever is left there at 4, okay, May, McCarthy, or Jaden Daniels. Because of the injury with Penix, there's just no way you can give up that type of capital for Penix, unless you absolutely think he's your guy, but I just doubt it, And so, okay, we move that trade. Let's say Jaden or JJ McCarthy goes off. So now we're at 6. Now this is the crazy pick right here, because again, if the Giants wanted to go quarterback. Now, I was listening to our local radio here in Seattle, and they had the Bucks former GM on, and I know that he's been on Sirius XM a lot, but he is talking about how GMs he got fired, right? He drafted Josh Freeman for the Bucks, and unfortunately, and he was saying, you take a look at their division, and their division had Breeze, Matt Ryan, and I forget who the third guy was, but they were all veteran.
Cam.
Yeah, or maybe it was. And
Cam.
and you look around, it's like, well, it's not that my guy's not good, but he's the fourth best quarterback in the division. And sometimes as a GM, you stick yourself with some wrong picks or whatever, or and they don't work out, you end up getting fired and you end up not even having an option. So when you look at taking swings at quarterback, if it's Brock Purdy, it can make up for a lot. We saw the swing and a miss with Trey Lance, worst miss almost of all time, on the quarterback side. Josh Rosen comes to mind too. But then you make up for it with Brock Purdy and people start to slowly forget. It's like
exactly. Like John Lynch should be freaking fired for that move. Like somebody should, or at least find $500,000 or something. Like you made the craziest trade of like even during that draft process, I liked Trey Lance. I liked his upside. I thought that was entirely too much to trade up for a guy like Trey Lance that's coming from smaller school, didn't play a lot, pure raw. He's very raw. He had tools, traits, yes, but raw. So that's where it gets dangerous, is when you're, like you said, if like Michael Penix is a dangerous guy to go draft for or trade up for right now because of the injury stuff. But with Trey Lance, it was because of just experience. And so, yeah, I feel like Neighbors should be the pick, to be honest, for the Giants, and just go with it. Get a superstar. Just get Jamar Chase, god dang it, and actually build an offense out and actually have something that can, you can actually create from all three different levels of the field with the wide receiver that can attack any way. And Malik Neighbors is that. And if I was the Giants, that's exactly the direction I would go.
Well, and at this time, and I hate to be, Mr. Wet Blanket, because Mike's not around, and that's usually him. But let's be real. I mean, Danny Dimes, that regime decided to pay him. They decided to pay him instead of even just figure it out. They just paid him.
Stupid.
and now they're like, well, okay, so it's one or the other. It's take a swing on a QB and hope for Brock Purdy, because you're going to get fired almost at this point. I mean, there's no way.
That's why you got to go Neighbors, man.
Even if Danny Dimes succeeds, like, how much do you really see him succeeding? An 8-win team, it would have to be a 12-win Giants team, and you would have to get to the NFC Championship. You probably got to at least get there. I mean, and even if that happens, you're still on the hot seat. So I'm going to say that they swing on QB. And I don't think with the injury history, you go Penix. I just think you swing on Penix, and he's got all that negativity surrounding him, where you're like, oh, how can you swing on a guy with an injury history? He goes down one time. It's the worst pick of all time, right? And if you swing on Bo Nix, right, then you're like, okay, you get a veteran, you get somebody who could come in, who may have a good opportunity to run around in this offense. Now, Danny Dimes has been doing the same thing, right? Running around in this offense. So I don't know how much better you're getting here, but maybe you are. Maybe you're stepping up. Maybe you take the swing. And I'm going to say at 6, it's Malik Neighbors, which you're drafting it for when you get fired, and then the other guy drafts the quarterback. And
also, we got to consider this. Like, what if the owner says, hey, we have a huge salary cap commitment to Daniel Jones this year. You're getting the wide receiver, and I'm not going to allow you to be the coach to choose the quarterback of our future if they aren't liking what they're seeing. I wouldn't allow them to select and draft my quarterback if I'm the owner and be like, hey, like if I know he's on the hot seat at this point, You got to make it work with Daniel Jones because you're the ones that paid him. So you need to do that instead. And if it is a miss, and if Daniel Jones is a bust again this year, let's say that, and they do take Neighbors, then they're in contention for Shedeur Sanders next year. Like that's what I would do if I was the owner. I would actually totally cockblock the GM on that and be like, you aren't picking the quarterback unless it's like JJ McCarthy. Then I can see it happening. But like anybody outside of that, I don't think I see it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. If you're the owner and you really have enough nuts to kind of step in between what's going on there, I think the pick is Malik Neighbors. Let's move on. Now, the Titans up at 7. There's a lot of talk right now. Everyone is mocking offensive linemen, but I think this is actually a really sneaky pick and landing spot for Rome Odunze here.
Yep, you're right.
Because
you're right.
I mean, again, it's just, hey, highlight players, right? Joe Burrow had a horrible offensive line. They still haven't been able to ride it, but guess what? They get paid butts and seats because the connection between him and Ja'Marr Chase when they went Ja'Marr Chase at 5. And now you got an idea of going Rome Odunze, Will Levis. Rome Odunze is a great deep ball wide receiver. Will Levis is a great deep ball quarterback. I mean, I know you got other receivers on the offense. Calvin Ridley, yes, old. And you get the young buck to say, hey, let's build around our quarterback. Yes, our offensive line is not that great, but hey, Will Levis was able to sling it. There is a plethora of offensive guards and tackles in this draft. We go get ourselves a couple of those guys after the draft. And now that Titans team, I mean, if Rome Odunze goes to the Titans, I'm comfortable as hell drafting him. Because we love Will Levis.
And people, I am so in love with Will Levis and what I'm seeing with his off-season training with Jordan Palmer. This guy is putting work in, dude. He looks great, sounds great in interviews, is very excited about this new scheme coming in. And Rome would be a seamless fit because that is literally, he would play Ja'Marr Chase in that Bengal offense that they're bringing over to Nashville. And I am all for that. And Ridley can be the T. Higgins to the Ja'Marr Chase of Rome. And D-Hop, I mean, he's a great value. But, like, if he survives this draft without a wide receiver addition, damn, man, wheels up big time on him. But if not, I think you're right. I think Rome would be a sick – I think that's a better spot for him to produce fantasy right off the bat than a Chicago Bears landing spot with a DJ Moore, a Keenan Allen, and a Kmet and a Swift.
Well, and the reason why we love that is because exactly what they did with Rashee Rice last year. Once you move them into big slot, it really works for a guy that with the type of size and capability that Rashee Rice does have and Rome Odunze has. The thing about Rome Odunze, if he went to the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins is not going to say, okay, no problem. You drafted a rookie. I'm going to let him play my outside role and then I'll go to the big slot. Like, no, rookie, you can go play the big slot. Okay, let us do some work out here.
He's gonna decapitate my guy Burks for the last time, and he's gonna be off the roster. And that's what it's gonna happen. And I'm all for it because if you don't produce, get out. Like it's just what happens in the NFL. And Rome Odunze is that guy, man. And
should we hot take this Rome Odunze to the Titans?
I think Rome Odunze to the Titans is a great pick. I think that's phenomenal.
Let's just leave it there. Rome Odunze to the Titans. Now the Falcons come up. This one's a pretty easy spot here for the first defensive player off the board.
Yep.
The guys over at NFL Stock Exchange, they were leaning the same way that I really leaned or was leaning. And I really think Jerzon Newton from Illinois is a absolute maniac. And I just feel like when you see all these number one picks like Trayvon Walker, right? They get picked, top 10. The guy that went to the Raiders last year from the freaking Texas Tech. I forgot his name, but maybe you can look that up for me while I'm talking about him. But it's a system where they draft a lot of upside at the defensive position. My whole thing is he has production, but his upside is Carter. I mean, And we saw how game changing he was. And when it's coming up from the middle like that, Aaron Donald showed you for many years how disruptive that is. Now you can go try to grab yourself an edge. There's a lot of second round edge guys, or even just, but I just think that that would be a good fit there. Byron Murphy seems to be the nuts as the number one defensive player, but I do think Byron Murphy and Jerzon Newton are just a tiny bit different player, but Jerzon has a little more tenacity to his game. But Dallas Turner did just turn 21 in February, and they were talking
Damn.
about how his only real athleticism and playing comp is Von Miller. And we saw Von Miller be, I think Von Miller's number one overall, right? Number one or number two overall. And he played very, very long, a disruptor, an entire disruptor. So
it's like him and
it's
Lawrence
tough.
Taylor, dude. Like those two are like the dudes, man.
It's hard to comp anyone to anyone but them now because they were outliers, and so it's just kind of tough. I think in the end they're going to go Dallas Turner just for age, youth, and upside on the defense. They have AJ Terrell, who's coming on as one of the better corners, age, youth, and upside. I think we'll go Dallas Turner at 8, unless you got a fire take on that.
I mean, unless the only thing I could think of that stops him stops him from going to the defensive side of the ball is if Rome falls to them. What does Atlanta do if Rome is staring them in the face? I know they signed Darnell Mooney.
You scorned me for this.
I know, but doesn't mean we don't talk about it. We got to talk about it.
Yes, because the Titans picking Rome. I mean, we love Rome. Rome is the pick in the top 10
Rome
picks.
Is an unbelievable player, dude. Like,
there's even talk that Rome goes ahead of Neighbors.
100%. Like 100%. Like, totally. I think if I totally think it's possible that Malik Neighbors is the third wide receiver off the board. Not my board, but it could be totally possible. But Rome Odunze to the Atlanta Falcons would totally crater my guy Drake London's upside. Like the nuclear option of upside in that offense with Kirk Cousins.
The nuclear,
like I'm talking like top 8 finish, top 7 finish is possible with Drake right now. So that I'm actually like, for all my Drake shares out there, I am praying Rome goes to Tennessee and isn't available for Atlanta to even think about, because that would be awful for me. But Tennessee makes a ton of sense to me. Old wide receivers.
Or New York makes a ton of sense, or even a trade up for Odunze. A lot of people are talking about a trade up for Odunze. And that's because everyone is mocking Odunze to the Bears. So it's like almost a fault line of Odunze to the Bears. So even if the Jets wanted him, you got to trade up with Tennessee. You got to trade up with New York, to get ahead of some of these teams. You got to trade up. You got to ask to get up to the Chargers pick. Hey, what's it going to take? We don't want quarterback. We want Odunze. So, and you know what? It's because of Odunze's, his interviews. I mean, he seems like an incredible guy. GMs are going to love this guy. He's not necessarily surefire pick. He's essentially a Larry Fitzgerald.
He is, man. I love every bit about him. I think he's Devontae Adams, to be honest, with more speed. I think he's got more high-end speed than Devontae Adams. I think Rome plays so in control that he doesn't have to use all of his speed. So I think he's so confident and comfortable within his own self and running routes that he knows that he can take his time. Like, he really can. He's awesome. Like, probably the most he is literally the most well-rounded wide receiver in the draft.
I think so too.
Marvin's just more insulated with value because of name brand. He's Gucci. You know what I mean? Like, he's Gucci out there, and you're going to pay for Gucci. And for Rome, I think he's just as good. If you can get any of these top 3 guys on your team, you're getting literally top 10 wide receiver dynasty assets right now. to be
Well, in our
honest.
mock draft, Rome went 7 to the Titans. So we're going to go ahead and go Dallas Turner here, I think, with the
Perfect.
age upside, like we said. So we're going on to the Bears at 9. If Dallas Turner's gone, Rome has gone to the Bears at 9. At that point, I do believe they end up sticking on the defensive side, even though they wanted Rome and Brock Bowers is there. Now, if Brock Bowers is there to the Bears, that would be a tough spot for me not to pick there. I
Love it.
understand that they got a Cole Kmet and they got all these, guys on the team. But if you really want to change something, you want to make a guy, you give him a lot of opportunity to be open, because there's no way you're not guarding DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Okay.
Nope.
And DeAndre Swift coming somewhere out of the backfield. It's tough. So if we want to shock it again, let's say that Brock Bowers goes to the Bears. We're just going to say
I think that's sick. I think it's sick. I think
And
that's
now
exactly how it goes.
the Jets, who were looking to get an offensive piece, now are pretty much going to fill in. Joe Alt's there. Now they go Joe Alt. Joe Alt at 10 to the Jets. Now we got the Chargers at 11. And the Chargers wanted offensive tackle or any offensive lineman. They could have taken Alt at 5 if they sat back there, whatever they wanted to do. I think at 11, now that Brock Bowers is gone, Odunze's gone, at this point, you got to go offensive line or defense. That's their two biggest needs. And you could even still trade a pick here. There's still a lot of guys that are on the board where they might be able to trade picks here, but I think they would either go Olu Fashanu, probably something like that.
I think 100% you're right. I think that's the pick.
Yep. And then you go 12 to the Broncos. This one's the easy pick. It's Bo Nix, 110% Bo Nix there. 13, that's going to be the Raiders, right?
Yes.
It's going to be Penix. It seems
yes.
like, it just seems like Penix fits what they want to do. Devontae Adams has not had a deep ball passer in his life. Dude, yeah, like Aaron Rodgers is great. Aaron Rodgers is great, but I just don't think that that deep ball from Penix is spun unbelievably well. Okay,
it's different, man. He swings it with those massive. His long arms and massive hands. Just the ball comes out of his hand with RPMs that are just different. Like it's clean, and I'm excited to see him throw the ball to Devontae. I think that's the fit. I think the mentality of Penix, man. Did you see his Players Tribune letter that he wrote to GMs? Oh man, the only test you need to take is the EKG, because it's all about my heart, man. Are you kidding me? Like that's the kind of stuff that I will bet on. Like I'm serious, because this kid Penix can play. We've been saying it. He is the Stroud of this draft class. He is the guy that can actually walk in and turn an offense around and go in the right direction and get the respect of veterans, man, because just the way this guy is and what he's been through.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's a very good, good pick for the organization.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this real quick, because the Raiders, like no other team really needs a quarterback. So why wouldn't they trade back? Right? So let's actually do something crazy, because every other team, let's trade back here, because the Colts are at 15, right? And they want to go receiver, maybe. Right? And then you have the Jaguars at 19, might want to go receiver too. Okay? So I think it's kind of tough where the Bengals could be in on this too for a receiver. And Brian Thomas Jr., he's been mocked to the Colts often. Do you think that a team could come up with the Raiders to where the Raiders could slide back just to 19 and still take Penix plus?
The only thing I would be nervous about as the Raiders guy, I think the Saints are low-key looking for a quarterback. I think that is a spot that Penix would be perfect in. He would be a great fit with Olave. That's one team that could do it. But yeah, if I knew for some reason that they weren't going to be in the quarterback market and I had a good pulse on that, I can see that happening. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a Colt no matter what. I feel like that is the fit for him.
Okay, you
I
know
think
what?
that
The
is a
Raiders
great
are going to
fit.
stand pat because I completely forgot about the Seahawks. And the
Yep,
Seahawks could
Seahawks too.
absolutely take a swing on Penix. If you go
Mhm.
beyond 16, you're risking it. Right? You're
Miami,
risking your whole franchise, right? So yeah,
Miami,
Raiders
ooh.
gonna take Penix at 13.
Yep,
14 the
take him.
Saints. Saints go offensive tackle. I don't care who does it.
Yeah,
15 is the Colts. You and I both think that Brian Thomas Jr. really fits that team. They need a
it's
true
perfect.
downfield guy. They have a gadget guy in Downs. They have almost a gadget guy in Pittman, but Pittman's more of a
Big slot. He does everything.
he
He
does
can run out of
everything.
the
But he's
flank.
not a gadget receiver per se. He's not
He's
running screens. He's not,
No, he's a flanker.
yeah,
He's more of a Puka
he's an
Nakua.
X. He's an
That
X.
guy. He can do it all though. Like he
Yeah,
really
he can
can.
do it all. So I think Brian Thomas Jr., who can run downfield and really open up that offense, is going to be great there. The
Huge.
Seahawks, that's the tough one. That's the one where you'd really like to swing on Penix. You didn't get a chance to swing on Penix. You might want to trade back. You might want to blah, 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 blah. But at this point, again, Jason Newton, Byron Murphy, Lot 2 is there. Jared
If
Verse
Byron
is
Murphy's there,
there.
just take Byron Murphy.
I
Like,
personally would take Jared Verse.
yeah, I know you like Jared Verse. You've been saying it for the
I want a
longest.
pass rusher there, somebody can actually affect the game. They signed Leonard Williams to a 3-year deal. Leonard Williams can be a somewhat of a blocking
Oh
wall
yeah,
there.
you're right. You're right. Jared Verse is a way better pick for that. You're right.
Now, Latu is the more premier pass rusher. So if Mike McDonald actually says, hey, I'm okay with Latu's medicals, let's just get him in here and just start hauling ass to the quarterback every down, if he's got a
I'm
motor
all
that
for
can
it.
do it, right? Because when you do that and he's specifically a third down pass rusher, if the guy's going to give you 10, 15 sacks, if you can get up to 15 sacks, it'll be great, right? And then you don't have to worry too much about his neck because he's not in there 24/7 taking run plays. You got guys like Boye Mafe and Derek Hall to be in there to try to take, rushing and there's other guys in this draft. Now we don't get a chance to get it until the 3rd round because we're missing a 2nd rounder, but at this point there's nobody to trade up for it. So let's say we're going to take Latu or we're going to take Verse. We're going to take Verse.
Verse. I would. I'm. Let's go Verse.
Let's
Yeah,
go
take
Verse. And then 17, I forget who's at 17. I
Let
think
me
it
check.
might be the Bengals at 17 or 18.
Actually, it's the Jags. 80 Mitchell.
To the Jags at 17?
Yep.
Ooh, shit. And you know what? I love Jacksonville because I'm a big wrestling guy and the son is the owner of the 2nd biggest wrestling company. And so, but they are dumb. Their big drafting is kind of dumb. They may take AD Mitchell. If 80 Mitchell goes top 17, it's going to throw the fantasy world ablaze.
I think that is the spot. I think
Okay, we're going to go 80 Mitchell at 17.
Yeah.
So is it the Bengals at 18 or 19? Oh, the Rams are at 19, I think. So you got the
18's
Bengals.
Bengals. 80 Mitchell got sniped away from the Bengals.
Yep. So if they go offense and maybe JC Latham went to the Saints, so then let's go Fautanu. Yep, let's go Fautanu to the Bengals.
Yeah.
So that would be great because they need kind of a gadget guy anyway, can play all over in case other guys get down. And then we have the 19 Rams. Rams are going to go Latu. Again, I think Latu fits really well there. 20, I think is that go ahead. You got it in front of you.
There has to be that. I think a corner would be nice for the Steelers.
The Steelers.
They could use a corner because I think Brian Thomas would have been the pick or AD Mitchell would have been the pick, but they don't get the pick. They're so good at drafting.
Let's go Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean to the Steelers. That fits well. 21 is the Dolphins. They need offensive tackle. They need somebody. Yep. So throw like Mims or Jackson Powers Johnson or somebody there. I think we're missing a big name. Oh, Fuaga. Let's go Fuaga.
Fuaga probably would have been a Seattle Seahawk, right?
No, he probably would have been a Saint, maybe a Saint. But in our mock, he didn't go there. That's our draft
Yeah.
take. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I like
Yep.
Fuaga, right? Because that
Yep.
guy's good and he's
Yep.
dominant. He's got a great
That's good for
rushing grade.
Miami.
Yeah, they need that. Okay, they
Yeah, they
need
do.
that
Oh, dude,
100%.
big time. They are. So my one of my big bold takes is this: is that Miami is in trouble.
Yeah,
Miami
big
is
trouble.
in trouble with their roster. They're in trouble with contract because they don't know what to do with Tua. They don't know if they should pay Tua for top money when, if let's just say Penix somehow, some way made it down to Miami. Let's say people are scared of the medical, he drops. What happens if Penix is staring them in the face, a perfect scheme fit quarterback? You can restart the quarterback market and you can move on from Tua, and you can help out your whole program by selling off on Tua. You could trade away Tua
Yeah, but what are
to a
you
Giants
trading
maybe.
Tua
I
for?
I would send him to the Giants for next year's first, a second next year, something like that. I would do anything possible to get him off my roster and restart again because honestly, they missed their window. They missed.
Well,
Unfortunately,
Tua's not a
the
miss. I
injuries.
mean,
No,
you
I'm
know,
not. I'm saying their whole circumstance of what happened to that team last year with injuries, with everything that went on with the defense, all their pass rushers were down. All their line was down last year. They really got screwed, and now the contracts have come home to roost, and they got to re-sign Tyreek Hill again soon, or a Waddle too. So they got to figure out what the hell they got to do. And honestly, restarting with a Penix, if he's available, that would be my most ruthless move I would do as a GM if I was in their spot. I would totally move and go get Penix and start over and sell to a QB needy team and move on.
so if that were to happen, do you think Penix is worth this, or Tua would be worth the 6 overall pick?
No, absolutely not. No, no. I think
So what do
I
you
think
what would you move for him? Because if he's not worth the 6 overall pick now, you can't do a 1 next year because you just don't know that your team,
I would.
unless you're betting on Tua and you think, "Oh, we're not gonna be 6, so we're moving 22 next year
Yep.
for him." And that's a straight up pick.
Yep.
It's
I
probably
mean,
not enough to get Tua.
or what about
And a 2 this year, so it's like
what
2.0.
about Tua to the Raiders? That would be a good move. Tua to the Broncos could be a move as well if the Broncos missed out and they don't want to take Bo Nix. I don't know. I think there is major conversation going on behind those closed doors with McDaniels. He knows he can get more out of his offense. He knows it. He knows it. And I
Yeah,
think he
that's true.
knows,
He is kind of that type of mastermind where
yeah,
he's
he
like, "You know
knows.
what? I can't do this." And it's like, maybe that's why we're not winning, because he's absolutely taken that team to an offensive
It's a
juggernaut.
lot like the Goff for Stafford deal.
Yeah,
I
but that
think
was an internal deal because Goff took a pass at his coach's
I
wife.
understand, but I'm just saying what I'm saying is this: is that McVay knew Goff wasn't going to do it. McVay felt it. I think McVay
Or
saw
at least he got there a lot quicker because he hit on his wife.
he got to see the ceiling of Goff, and he knew that Stafford would bring him over the top.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
a good
really think
play. I mean, we could
Penix.
take another draft hot take, is that there's 2 teams with veteran quarterbacks. I wouldn't say like 2
That
incredibly
is my
veteran,
hot takes for sure. Yes.
but you have Tua and you have Justin Herbert that could absolutely be moved on a team that, one team, which is Herbert's team, is almost directly in a rebuild, almost. And then
Yep.
you have the Dolphins team that are like, hey, if they don't get it done right now, what are they staring down? You know,
And they know because the Bills are doing the same exact thing they're doing. They got to do. They got to rebuild, and same thing. They know this is the Jets' 1 year. This is the 1 year the Jets are going to make a big time run. The Buffalo Bills know it, Miami knows it, and the New England knows it. They're building for after this next year, okay? And
hey, and you know what? That is kind of a good idea because the Bills are down. So, like,
Yes.
if you think about it, the Patriots are way far down. The Bills are down right now, which if the Miami Dolphins really level up they could secure themselves the top seed in that division for at least 2 or 3 years. So, I
Yes.
mean, you would know. Now, is that enough to think that Tua can't get it done?
I've never been I think Tua is apt. I think Tyreek Hill, without Tyreek Hill, Tua would not be putting these numbers up, man. I just don't see it ever happening. That's why I think Penix is such a perfect fit for that offense. And I think McDaniels knows it, man. I think he knows it, and I think he's sly, and I think he's
That would be so crazy.
it. I
It
think
would be so
he's a
crazy.
dude. This is the time to do it because they know that the Jets are going to fall off in 2025 and beyond, 2026 and beyond, because A-Rod's going to be gone. They're going to have to rebuild a new quarterback. And so that's another place that people don't want to talk about is what if Penix went to the Jets to back up A-Rod and sat for a year?
Which
That
really
would be
works this year because they can grab if they wanted a wide receiver, they missed out on a Dunze, they could
yeah,
grab Penix and then just say, "Hey, dude, that actually makes stupid sense."
I
You
know it
know?
does.
That actually makes great, but they still don't have a great offensive line, but if they draft the offensive line in the second round again a year like
They can't
this.
be stuck again without a quarterback, dude. They can't do that again. Like they can't do that again. But hey, if you're the Jets though, they know they're going all in here. Like go get the best weapon possible and just go all in, dude. Like that's the move.
Yeah, but
Go in for the
remember in
chip.
this mock,
Yeah.
Neighbors is gone, Odunze is gone,
Bowers though.
and Bowers is gone. In our mock that we've just done,
Oh
Bowers is
yeah, because
gone.
Bowers went to Chicago. You're
So
right.
at 10, you almost
Penix.
have to think, okay, we're shooting for it right now. Let's back up our QB, make sure we have one for the next 10 years, and then we
Amen.
know we can go and grab these
It
guys.
could be a Drew Bledsoe to a Tom Brady situation for the Jets. And it would be just A-Rod going down again, and then big Penix energy comes in to save the day
Oh,
for the Jets, and boom, he just I think Penix would be a great fit in that offense. To be honest with you,
Wow. Okay, well, you heard it there. I think we actually just kind of switched some things up. We didn't switch it up. The draft hot take is that we have a couple teams that could mysteriously be in the Michael Penix sweepstakes.
100%.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not necessarily going to agree that it's going to happen just because the injury histories, and you don't want to go so high on a pick on a guy that could go down one time and he's out for the 5 years, or out of the league. But you are correct. Some may feel that. Mike McDaniel might say, "Hey, Penix is the guy I need." If he's there, if he's not
If that
there, whatever. It's
fine with
possible
him.
Penix even slides. It's possible Penix slides.
100%. And that's I actually kind of was upset that all this energy happened with Penix, and now he's rising up the board really far. I really love the fact that he was being projected as a late first because it was going to be Miami, man. Miami was going to swoop in and go get him, and then he could have traded off Tua and go get themselves some more picks to rebuild the back end of that defense and get more pass rush. Like I just that's the way I would go with it. I think Miami knows that they got a new breath of fresh air because of the Bills rebuilding, and so are the New England Patriots, and they are too as well.
All right, so moving on, Philadelphia goes Jackson Powers Johnson.
Sure.
Somebody in the interior. 23 would be that second pick traded to the Chargers. At this point, we haven't had a corner. I mean, Philadelphia actually, you know what? Philadelphia goes Quinyon Mitchell. We haven't had the corners.
Boom.
Philadelphia needs a corner. We're going to go Quinyon Mitchell.
We gave Jean to the Steelers.
That's right. Well, that's right. DeJean, Quinyon, DeJean Mort could play safety too. So he's versatile. So let's just stick with that. Yeah, Quinyon goes to Philadelphia. That's great. And then you have the Chargers at 23 at that second pick. That first pick, they got Olu, so they went line there. That next pick, they got Terrion Arnold. corner. You know, they've been
Perfect.
missing that. That's great. Dallas at 24. This is a sneak. This is where it gets
This is
sneaky
one
again.
of my favorite ones.
Go ahead and hit the pick.
I think it's Xavier Worthy.
I think that's a great spot for him too, because you know what, Dak secretly does have that huge downfield arm. We've seen it to only one guy. We can't seem to get another option there. Xavier Worthy is a jack of all trades, can do a lot of things, and I just think, yes, if he can actually open up and actually run well there, and then Texas to Texas, right? So we like that. Green Bay, don't really care. Tampa Bay seems defense. They both seem defense. You get to the Arizona pick at 27. Now this is crazy because yes, they went Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick 4, but could they go another offensive weapon? I mean,
yes,
they don't have anybody else. So do you just double tap it, or do you go defense? I think
I would love to see Ladd McConkey.
Byron Murphy is still on the board.
Yeah. Well, okay. If Byron Murphy's on the board, you draft him. Like I would have drafted Byron Murphy somewhere in the top 15. I think that guy's a freaking bear. So I think he's going to go much higher than we think. But I'm telling you, the Cards, that would be having Ladd McConkey as the flanker, having Michael Wilson in the slot, Trey McBride at tight end, and Marvin Harrison Jr. at the X. That looks pretty.
Okay, let's go crazy. Let's go Ladd McConkey to the to the Cardinals. They double tap wide receiver, really stack the deck for Kyler. I mean, you know, that would be crazy. I think that's, you know what? Yes. Okay, let's do that. So then we get to Buffalo. At this point, A.D. Mitchell's gone. Xavier Worthy's gone. Ladd McConkey's gone. Is this too high of a pick for Ricky Pearsall, first round?
Ooh, that is. Could they might be able to trade back and still get him.
I think it's possible right here. They trade this to Bengals and they get T. Higgins.
I like it.
I mean, 2 AFC teams, but nobody's called for T. Higgins. Nobody, you know, maybe they don't want to give it.
Or my next call, Ayuk to the Bills.
Yeah, that could be one too. But for this pick, you think he might be worth more than that? Like if Ayuk is going, then are you telling me? But if Ayuk is going, are you telling me a first and a third the Bills got to give up, right? Okay, first and third. Or would you take Ayuk if you were the Colts instead of Brian Thomas Jr.? And it would just be a much higher first round pick, so you don't have to give up the third. But the problem is you got to pay Ayuk, right? And you just paid Pittman.
Yeah, I would go Brian Thomas because honestly, Ayuk does his damage from the X mostly, and I think that's where Pittman's going to live.
Yeah, but 2 outside guys, and then you have Downs going through. You're fine.
Yeah.
And you know what? You got a quarterback on the rookie contract. You got your third wide receiver on a rookie contract. I think, dude, that would be a really cool freaking thing to see too.
I just think it makes so much sense for Ayuk to the Bills because it's NFC to the AFC. Ayuk won't hurt him. Ayuk is literally Stephon Diggs-esque. He can do the same stuff.
The Bills. That's what we're calling.
I think Ayuk to the Bills for trade. That's the trade.
Okay, now then we get to the other spot here at Detroit. It ain't Ricky Pearsall. Xavier Legette to Detroit.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
I mean, they need an outside guy. They got an Amon-Ra already.
Yep.
And you know what? I've seen a lot of scouts and a lot of fantasy analysts talk about this, and it's like, you know what? The crazy part about Legette is all the downsides to him. He actually is the only one with the true upside of a number 1 wide receiver outside of the top 5. Like, you know,
right.
Brian Thomas Jr. does not profile as a number 1 receiver. Xavier Legette, if hits, actually can be seen as a DK Metcalf outside X.
Quite possible.
That can do it. You can't put Ricky Pearsall as an outside X and expect Ricky Pearsall with his Lad McConkey, Xavier Worthy. You're not really expecting those guys to dog out at X and be somebody you got for 5-10 years. It's gotta be Xavier Legette. Now, this puts everyone else in a tizzy because they don't care about Baltimore or San Francisco. We're at Kansas City, last pick of the draft, Brandon. Then we're wrapped. We're on an hour here. Of course, it was easy to do. I don't know how we did it, but
it's always easy. At least we got it out, man. I've been holding all this stuff in. I've been excited about it. Like, this is fun.
Xavier's gone. Xavier's gone. Lad's gone. A.D. Mitchell's gone. Brian Thomas is gone. Marvin Harrison's gone. Malik Neighbors is gone. And which is 6. And Brandon Ayuk is gone. Xavier Legette, right? I already mentioned. So it's Ricky Pearsall to the Chiefs. And Ricky fits that 100% fits that scheme. Do you like it, or is there?
I do.
Or would the Chiefs just bow out on going receiver in the first round because Ricky Pearsall's not a first round talent?
I think they bow out, and because they signed Marquise Brown.
Boo.
That's the main reason. That's the main reason. I think Rice is going to miss a grand total of 4 to 6 games. I think
so. You need somebody. You can't do it. You saw them; they sucked.
Yeah,
Justin Watson sucks.
They can go get a 3rd rounder, man. Like
Keon Coleman.
Go get a Javon Baker later. Like,
I mean, you could do both. You could do both.
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky Pearsall is the last guy. He's gone at 201 to the Carolina Panthers.
I would love that for the Panthers. That's a great fit.
Yeah, because I think I actually don't disagree on Bryce Young being decent. So, do we take Ricky to the Chiefs or we let it go? Final take.
I let it go. I don't think he makes the first round.
Ricky Pearsall does not make the first round, but that was our first round breakdown fantasy football show and our last minute draft takes. Brandon, if you want to throw one absolute last take out there, we will get out of here.
No, just enjoy the draft, everybody. It's going to be a wild ride. We have no idea. It's been fun to talk about, but it's finally over. Christmas is here. Let's open our presents.
All right. We're opening the presents tomorrow with all of you watching the draft. We're going to get crazy. We're going to get maniacal, and you guys have a good day. You know, once this happens, the draft, you know, all of our off-season drafts look to go forward. We got a draft we're going to be breaking down as well. So it's just crazy. For Brandon, Adam, I am Flex Matt. Go to dfsarmy.com only if you want to win life-changing money, and we